Hello and welcome to Talking Balls, the football show where fans have their say. Tonight we've got a Manchester City and an Arsenal fan to talk about that match on Saturday. Hopefully the conversation will be a lot more lively than the match itself. We'll also be speaking to a Fulham fan following their spectacular equaliser against Sheffield United. And I'd love to talk to any West Ham or Newcastle fans that might be watching following what could be one of the games of the season. If you're up for talking about the Hammers, please drop a comment in the comment section and I will send you a guest link. It'd be great to hear if you are Moyes in or Moyes out. So before we get started, as a new channel, I'd kindly ask that you smash that subscribe button. It would really help me out. But let's kick off the show. So first up, we're going to welcome back our resident, also or becoming our resident Man City fan, John. John, welcome back.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me back.
No problem, my friend. No problem. And also, we're going to welcome a first-time guest, an Arsenal fan, Joel. Joel, nice to see you.
Hi, Mark. Thank you for having me.
No problem, my friend. No problem. Well, look, let's kick off about this one. As a neutral, I would say it was a bit of an anti-climax. But how do you guys see this match from your own point of views? Joel, we'll start with you.
I thought overall the job wasn't done, but it was done in the sense of, you know, we've gone there, we've played well, we've got the point, and the biggest thing for us is that sort of psychological barrier. You know, we've beat that. The mentality of the team feels really strong. I'm really happy to be quite honest with you.
John, you were at the match, weren't you?
Yeah, I go season ticket holder, so I have the privilege of seeing us for many years. But yeah, sat in the south stand there.
And how would you say that game ranked as one of your games of the season?
Well, I think I agree. I mean, it was a boring match. There wasn't a lot of chances. I think for ourselves, we didn't show that free flowing dominate. Well, it was dominating parts, but I think the free flowing attacking football. When you watch City, you think a goal is going to come at any moment. I don't think we had that impetus. But look, it's a point in a title race. It would have been better for three, particularly how we performed against Arsenal last season. But look, it's still anyone's game at the top of the league. It's not opened that big of a gap. But frustrating, but some good points in parts as well.
Joe, we had a chat about this beforehand, and I think John pointed it out. When I looked at the games in neutral, I thought Arsenal were wasting a bit of time in that game, and I think it happened quite early. So, do you think that Arteta's game plan was, look, just go there, grab a point, Liverpool will go top, and we'll try and get those points elsewhere in the season?
Yeah, I think it's a case of frustrate the opposition, see what can maybe come of a turnover in possession. I think there's a couple of times, if you look at the game, where, you know, if it was just had a bit more cutting edge, if it was a bit more decisive in our attacking, then the game could have gone a lot different. I think we forced City to play around us a lot of the time. So yeah, I think it's a case of, look, I'd rather go there and take a point and see what we can do with the rest of the season, see how the other teams fare in their games. And then, you know, if we end up top, then we deserve it. If not, then we have to look at the points that we dropped earlier on in the season. So.
Yeah. And John, what are your thoughts on the time wasting?
Yeah, it's a little bit, but I understand why Arteta did it. I know other I'm not comparing the teams, but when teams like, say, Crystal Palace have come to City and Southampton have done it quite well, it is to stifle us. But for me, I'm not criticising Arteta. What he's done at Arsenal is a fantastic job. You know, when he came, he was 20th in the league, and to where he is now, and knockout stages, Champions League, everything like that. But I did think when you're going for a league title, particularly up against City and Liverpool, you should want to be in that fight and being aggressive. Obviously, if you are too aggressive against a team like City, you open yourself to getting tore apart. So I do think he could have done it in spells. I did think it was going on a bit too long. But yeah, particularly when you are going against two teams, I thought he just could have gone for a bit more. It was frustrating at times. I did find it boring. I can see why he's done it, but at this stage of the season, I don't particularly agree with it. I think he was just playing for the draw, get a point, show shop, and go home.
Yeah, and do you think it was a case of Arsenal's defence was that good, or was City's attack just bad on the day?
No, I thought Arsenal defended very well. Obviously, they stifled Haaland. He wasn't getting that service, should I say. He took Foden off quite early on. Foden's creativity wasn't there. I think De Bruyne as well. I think if you notice in the game, he tried to switch around by Bernardo coming in the inside and Kev going out wide. So, I mean, we did find gaps. We did have our chances. Nathan Ake's header was a great save by Raya off the line. We did have our chances late on in the second half as well. So I think it was a mixture of us opening Arsenal at times and not taking our chances. But yeah, I thought Arsenal were a lot more improved than what we've seen last season.
Yeah, and Joe, I think you only had one shot on target during the match. So, do you think you still need, like, if you had someone like a Haaland, do you think that's? And I know they're very rare. I'm not saying there's many out there at all, but if you had that number 9, yeah, be that an Ivan Toney, I know that's been talked about for a while.
I was going to say that's someone. A Tony of I can't pronounce his name. Vlahovic from Juventus.
Mm-hmm.
They're the sort of strikers that I think that we need, not so much a Haaland. In fact, I think it's interesting. You look at Haaland in a game like this, particularly when you're against a well-drilled defensive side, against a side that's going to stop your other players from playing. Haaland wasn't linking that well. I think Haaland's so used to having that space in behind him. Yes, he's very instinctive in the box, but he's a player that didn't look that great. And this is the third time this season that he's faced us. I don't think he's even had a shot on target. So I think if you have a player like Tony, who can come in, who can link up the play. If you look at the assist that he got from against Man U, a player that can bring the ball down in the box, that can maneuver, that can make something happen. I think a player like that is so important for Arsenal in the next step. To be fair,
yeah, I know you've obviously got Havertz, Jesus.
Yeah,
you've not got anyone. I don't think you've got anyone in that team that really would ever get you 20 goals. I don't know if anyone has. And I might be wrong on that. This is just my outside perception. But do you have anyone who gets you regular 20 goals?
No, I think you probably look at. I think Odegaard got 15 last season. I think Martinelli was really hot in terms of his goal scoring. So I think the goals are pretty much shared. I think even if you look at some of Man City's best teams, they didn't necessarily before Haaland. The goals were spread. But at the same time, we do need someone who's really gonna, as I said, just be instinctive. So someone who's just hungry to get the goals. So yeah, I think next season will be very interesting for us.
Yeah, it was 20. I think you had 27% of possession in that match, which was again, I don't know, but I'm assuming that's going to be one of the lowest of the season.
Yeah,
it was 72 to Man City's 28, and then
yes,
on the passes. And again, I think this is where maybe yesterday we weren't as cutthroat as we were. We had 618 passes to Arsenal's. I think it was 191. So again, are we having too much of the ball and not being that decisive enough? Yeah, so that was some interesting stats coming out of yesterday.
Yeah,
it's definitely one-sided. And talking just about because obviously England games have just gone as well, and I always see Foden, just talking to you, John, here around.
Yeah,
does he really do it in the big games? Does he do it when it really counts? What are your thoughts on him?
I would say so. Yeah, I mean, we've seen him. Not this season, but in previous seasons, he scored against Liverpool in big games. He scored, against Man United in derbies. He's done it in the Champions League as well. We forget with people, like Saka, for example, or Foden, because they've been around for so long. They're still so young. So even though they still have that raw talent and they are great footballers, they still have so many years to grow and progress. So I think when we're talking about in the big games, what do we need Foden to do in the big games? Do we need him to score? Do we need him to get assists? Or is it the link-up play that he has? So, yeah, again, I think any player, you could say De Bruyne went missing yesterday. So I think Foden does have an off day, but I think when we're comparing Man City to Phil Foden to Phil Foden England, it's a different dynamic just because of who's on the pitch for England and who's on the pitch for City. But I think once we see De Bruyne and probably Bernardo Silva age out, I think Foden will become City's link-up player. We have seen Pep playing him in that out wide position or coming more inside as well. So yeah, I think he still has a lot more. He's nearly there, but I can see your point, Mark. But there's still a lot to work with.
Where do you think Foden's best position is? You watch him, week in, week out. So
yeah, it's a good question, Joe. I think some people like him out wide where he can make those runs and cut inside or take it to the edge of the box and then look to cross. I prefer him in that more inside role where he can either spray it out wide, he can give it to Haaland, or he's got people, running off him like Kevin De Bruyne or Bernardo Silva. So I like him in the middle role where he's got a bit more to. I think his skill sets are more useful. I think for England, we have other people that can play on that outside, which I think apart from maybe Bellingham and Maddison, I think Phil is the most creative central player that we've got, really.
Yeah. And Grealish, Grealish didn't start, did he? He came on, is that right?
He came on, yeah. I mean, he didn't have a lot of time to impact the game. He did make those forward runs where he just looked to get around the full-back or, hold up and bring goals. He did look lively, but I just think Arsenal are too compact for any of our creative players to make a great difference yesterday.
And is there a place for Grealish in the starting lineup? Do you think he can force his way back? Obviously, he's the most expensive English player, but will he force his way back in?
I'd like to think so. I mean, what's been interesting was when Jeremy Doku first started, he was this live wire. He was ripping people apart. We saw what he did to James Milner in that home game against Brighton, and he's able to get past people and his trickery and skill. But I don't know, for some reason, I think since probably just before Christmas to now, he's kind of lost that edge. So I would like to see maybe Grealish having a fair crack of it, because he has had an injury-plagued season, and I do think if you watch Grealish last season, he did offer the team a lot. So I would like to see him become a more pivotal player, since the likes of Gundogan, Mahrez and Palmer have moved on. So we'll wait and see what the rest of the season brings, and obviously Euros as well.
Yeah, okay, great stuff. Now, obviously, Liverpool have gone top with their win over Brighton. Looking at their run-in, so obviously we're looking at the run-ins. I'm sure you guys have been looking at your run-ins. Liverpool have got, I'd say their three tricky fixtures would be Man United, Everton, just because it's a derby and they want to stop them. And obviously Villa. So do you think that Liverpool could win all three of those?
I think that I don't know about Man U. I think Man U possibly could do it. I think Everton's a walk in the park for them, I'll be honest. And who was the third one? Was it Villa?
Villa.
Was it?
Aston Villa, yeah.
Are they at home or away?
Oh, I'm not sure. To be honest.
Yeah, I think it depends on that. But I don't know. Liverpool are so jammy this season. They'll go behind. They'll find a way. And you know what? There's credit to them and their character. But I just look at them sometimes, and I'm not quite sure. I think they'll probably win maybe 2 out of 3. I think.
Yeah, I agree with Joel. I think what's probably going to drag them over the line is Klopp's mentality of getting into, saying you're in the trenches now. This is the end game. We're pushing it over the line. So I think he'll just give them a kick up the backside to drag them over there. But I don't think, even though it's a 3-horse race, I still think there's a few twists and turns left in it. I think everyone's going, well, Liverpool have got that 2-point gap. They'll just kick on now. I'm hoping it won't be as simple as that. But yeah, I think there's a couple of interesting matches still have to play.
Yeah. And obviously with Klopp leaving, do you think that's kind of the time when Liverpool will drop off, and they will just be from then on a 2-horse race just between Arsenal and City every year? I can't see the likes of Spurs or Villa really kicking on, and I think Liverpool probably will only go backwards. But keen to get your thoughts.
I don't think they'll go backwards that much. I think they will still be. I know people will move on. I think you hear rumours of like Van Dijk's and Salah's last season as well. So they will need to replace key figures like that. I don't think they'll regress as much as like a Man United did when Alex Ferguson left, but I don't think they'll be as dominant, and I don't think there'll be that fear factor there when whoever goes and plays. I think the new manager, whoever comes in, has got to get their ideals across. He's going to be a new staff, a lot more players coming in and out. So I think it would take, I want to say maybe 2-3 years, but being a bit of a pessimist for them. Yeah, we hope so, Joel. But yeah, I don't think they'll be as dominant as they are, but who knows?
Yeah, I think Xabi Alonso staying, I think that's huge. I think we all like the idea of De Zerbi coming in and then just working his magic as supposed magic of what he's done at Brighton. But I'm not quite sure. I think Xabi Alonso, it's not just the tactics. He just seems like someone that's really got everyone believing in the football that they can play. To go this long unbeaten this season is just incredible. No matter who you play for, no matter what league you're in. So I think that's a massive blow for them. I can't really see who's going to come in at this point. Is really going to make a difference that you'd probably expect. So I can't.
I think just to touch on what Joel said there, I think apart from the players and the playing style and the tactics, whoever comes into Liverpool now has got to do what Klopp did when he first came in and get the fans to really buy into this person and go, I'm like, you're obviously not do what Jurgen did, but kind of the same mentality of going, look, I'm taking you on a journey now. This is Liverpool Football Club. Believe in me and come with me. I think when they've had the likes of Roy Hodgson and Rodgers kind of did it, but I think he struggled to keep the faith at the end. So I think it's a massive. Whoever's coming in has got to have that massive mentality and really buy into what Liverpool is. It hurts me to say that, but it's I think it's a big part of the job.
Yeah, well, I'd also like to add Javi Alonso's unbeaten run is going to come to an end soon because they've got West Ham in Europe. So
obviously,
I'm sure Moyes has got a plan for them. Ooh, scary. I come back to Man City, John. I think again we touched upon this just before we come on air, but I think City do have the easiest run in, and they're probably their toughest games. I think they've only got 3 teams in the top half, which is Villa next up, then Tottenham, and I'll put West Ham in there as well. But I do not expect us to get anything from the City game. So I think really it's only Tottenham and Villa that could kind of upset your run.
Yeah, Villa was a tricky one. I think it was in. I watched the Aston Villa game on telly when we played there at Villa Park, and we just looked so off the pace. And Unai Emery set himself up really well, but as we've seen, I don't speak on Villa fans' behalf because I don't watch them every week. But I think over the past few months they have started to have that drop off, and the consistency levels aren't there. Whether they're up for it on Wednesday and whether we're up for it from what I think Pep will have got under a few people from Sunday, and hopefully we can come out and see them off. Tottenham's always a tricky one. I know we've only won at the new White Hart Lane once in the FA Cup from that supposed foul on Vicario. But yeah, Tottenham's always a tricky place to go. I think yourself and Joel mentioned it off air about I know it was Oscar about people kind of losing faith in Ange and whether he's got that plan B. So yeah, I think Tottenham will be our toughest game.
Yeah, Joel, you probably I'd argue have a tough run in. I think your top 3 toughest games: Chelsea, Man United, and Spurs. Could it be Spurs that just
Villa as well? Villa as well.
Oh yeah. The reason I put Spurs in is again Chelsea and Spurs just because they're London derbies, and I think Spurs will do everything they can. They probably rest players the game before just to stop Arsenal winning the league.
I don't think it makes much of a difference. I think the way that we are now, I think if you look at the comparison to Man City and Spurs aren't as technically good. I think they can be very good at times, but I don't think they're technically as good. I don't think they're physically robust. I think that they're a team that we can definitely hit on the break. They play so high. If you see Martinelli, Saka, Odegaard, if he slips a pass through, I think we can have some real joy against them. But one thing I will say, I think Spurs next season and to come, there's someone that I am keeping an eye on. I have them for top 4 this season. I know that Ange does play one way, but I think they've been playing some really good football. And we need to remember their squad's quite small, especially in terms of the defence as well. They just need to build on that, to be honest. I mean, I don't like Tottenham, but I've got to be realistic and say, look, there's someone definitely to look out for, especially if we expect Liverpool to drop off a little bit. Yeah, so it'll be tough. It'll be a tough few games.
Sounds like Ange got your vote for Manager of the Year then.
Yeah, possibly. Who knows? No, I think he's a top manager, and he's proved it. I think today, especially if you look at English managers as well, you'll see some of them that will just get jobs straight away, and they don't necessarily deserve it. They haven't done the coaching that's required. They haven't experienced it. But I think was Ange in Japan before he went to? Was it Japan or one or an Asian country?
I think he was in Japan, and he took Australia to World Cup. Before.
And then obviously Celtic as well. So he's seasoned, and he's got the players playing for him. So no, definitely someone to look out for, 100%.
Yeah, they've got the stadium and the funds really to back them. So
they've got all the foundations to go to the next level. It's just whether the execution. That's it, and they never really do it. So we'll see what happens this time.
One thing they don't have, which may have a big impact for you, Joel, is they don't have Harry Kane. Now, obviously, you guys are going to be playing Bayern Munich in the Champions League. Is he going to come back and haunt you?
I would put Kane and Haaland stylistically similar. If you talk about physical profile, obviously, I think with the difference with Haaland and Harry Kane is that Harry Kane can literally drop deep and he can hurt you. He can break the lines with passes. His finishing's lethal. So yeah, I just don't know. I think away from home, I think we'll struggle. But I'm just so glad that we got the home fixture first. Like, that is massive for us. We just really need to capitalize on it, I think. But who knows? Who knows is what I gotta say, really.
It's gonna be a cracking game. But you think you're at I was gonna say hybrid then, but at the Emirates you'll come out on top.
Yeah, I don't fear anybody at the Emirates. I've honestly do. I know it seems so stupid, but even with the new song that we have, I know to me it's corny, to be honest with you, but what it represents and how the fans are. In fact, the first time I remember is last season with Saliba, the chant starting there at Bournemouth, and then just the chance to sort of I can't think of the word. But yeah, the way that the fans are now, it's just totally different, and you can just really feel it in the way that we play. We look confident. We can't go on for 90 minutes. We're just going at you. So no, it's important. Honestly, it's really helped us this season.
Yeah, that camaraderie's back.
Yeah, yeah.
And Joe, obviously, you've got Real Madrid away.
Yeah, looking forward. I'm going to the home leg, so I'll send you some picks. But I think it'll be a different affair to what we saw last season. I went to the 4-0. That sent us to Istanbul, and it didn't look like Real Madrid at all. I don't know who turned up that day, but it wasn't a team with Vinicius Junior, David Alaba, and Thibaut Courtois was their best player. He kept them in the tie until we broke through. But yeah, I think with Bellingham in the side, he just offers them that different dynamic. I think possibly he will be the game changer in this tie, because it's relatively the same squads they're up against last season. I think going to the Bernabeu first helps us. I thought it helped us last season, getting that 1-1, going back to the Etihad and doing the job. So it'll be tense, but no, look, I think we will just edge it. But with Real Madrid, it's their competition, isn't it? You never know. They just kind of pull it out of the bag with the Champions League, don't they?
Yeah, some pedigree indeed. Obviously, last question to you both, and I think I may know the answer, but who's going to win the league this year?
You go first, John. I need to decide.
Hello, Joel. Please go after you.
I think you got to really give it to Liverpool, I guess, because they're ahead. Honestly, I don't know, but what I will say is I think all three of those teams lose a game before the season's up. That's what I think. I think someone's going to drop points big time.
Yeah. John?
My heart says City, just because we've been there before in these close races in recent years. But I think if either City or Arsenal draw a game and Liverpool get another win, I think Klopp's mentality and their sheer desire will drag them over the line. But I'll say Man City, but so we'll never know.
Fair enough, gents. Well, obviously, I think it's going to be a great running. And again, I love it that it's a 3-horse race, not a 2-horse race. It makes it much more exciting from a neutral point of view.
Yeah,
not so much for you guys, much more nervy. But again, that's the thrill of football. So look, wish you all the best of luck with the run-in. You've been great guests. I'd love to get you back on. If you are able to stick around, I might bring you back on and have a little chat about West Ham at the end and David Moyes. But no, thanks for your time. Next, we are going to bring on Oscar, our Fulham fan.
Cheers, man.
Appreciate it.
Cheers. Thank you. Oscar, how you doing?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you. How are you? Thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it. This has been in the cards for a few weeks now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, mate. Yeah, you've been a very busy boy, and obviously now you're in New York. So I really appreciate you joining us all the way from across the pond.
Of course, representing Fulham from across the other side. New York's been great. It's a bit of a grey day today. I've been blessed with the weather the last few days, but it's fantastic to be on. So thank you very much. I appreciate this.
No problem. Does anybody recognise that Fulham shirt out in New York?
They do. Well, I mean, over the years, we've had a lot of key American players play for us. We've had Brian McBride, we've had Dempsey. Currently, we've got Tim Ream, we've got Anthony Robinson, left back playing for America. Robinson, he's been quality this season for us, absolutely quality. So Americans, you wouldn't think it, but they do. They know about Fulham. They go, oh, we know Fulham. Our owner's obviously American. Shahid Khan, he owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we have a little bit of a popular, like nothing on the level of Liverpool or United, but we've got a little following. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, as I said to you before, I went to the Tottenham game last week, and Anthony Robinson for me was man of the match. What a player! Like, I can't believe he only cost you £2 million, but he looked absolutely sensational in that game. Tore Tottenham apart.
Oh, he was brilliant. I mean, the cross for that first goal, he could only have put it there. It had to be completely inch perfect ball, and Muniz in that kind of form. As soon as he did that first touch, he knew it was a certain goal. But I worried because I think a big club could come in for an Anthony Robinson. I could see I could actually see your lot maybe going in for Rob. I think Emerson is quality, but Emerson's now what? He must be in his 31, 32.
Yeah, our whole back line's over 30, so we definitely need new players. And yeah, honestly, when I looked at him in that match, I was like, well, I'd love to sign this player, but I'm sure he's worth quite a bit more than the $2 million you paid for him.
I hope so.
I'm sure. So obviously that your match at the weekend was against Sheffield United, a thrilling match again for the neutral. Probably disappointing from your point of view, although you salvaged a point. But against Sheffield United is one you should be expecting to win.
Yeah, I think that result has slightly reflected a lot of our season. We've somehow done really well against the top teams. Even the games that we've lost. I mean, I look back at the Liverpool game at Anfield. We were 3-1 up at one point in that game, and it was amazing that we somehow capitulated and lost that 4-3. But we've beaten Manchester United. We've beaten Tottenham 3-0. We've gone unbeaten against Arsenal. But against the lower league sides, we haven't been that good this season. And especially away from home, only Sheffield United have got fewer points away from home than us this season. We've only got 2 and they've got 1. And that just shows you our away form has been woeful. But I will say, going into this game, having seen Arsenal win 6-0, having seen Newcastle win, I think it was 9-0, earlier in the season, I was pretty confident, especially after we won 3-0. But defensively, and I've noticed this a lot this season, when we concede one goal, there's like a 10-minute period where we just have a capitulation moment and we can't get organised and it's all a bit chaotic. It happened at Anfield in the Carabao Cup semi-final. And Sheffield United just exposed us. And one thing I love about Robinson is he is good going forward, but defensively at times, he can be caught ball watching, especially that third goal. Brereton Diaz runs in the back post. Should have been dealt with a bit better. But look, it was a thrilling game. I'm very glad that we salvaged the point. I think it would have been a bit embarrassing to lose to Sheffield United. No disrespect to them or their fan base, but they have had a really bad season. But look, it was a cracking game. I thought actually in the end we probably should have won it. I mean, Kenny in the last minute had a glorious chance on his left foot, and he normally buries, but it was straight at the goalie. But look, the equaliser goal was one of the best goals I've ever seen a Fulham player score. And it's just reflected on his form and just his confidence. And the funny thing is about that goal, actually, is we've watched Muniz for a number of years at Fulham, and he always tries to score that kind of goal every game. And finally, 3 years later, he's managed to do it. So I'm happy for him. And he's been magnificent for us in the last few months.
Yeah, no worries. I know it's nice when they do come off. When you see players trying that all the time, but then it does come off, it's nice. And thank you very much for not mentioning the spanking of West Ham 5-0. So that was a bad one for us. That was a dark day. But you had 2 5-0s in a row. Who else did you beat 5-0?
Yeah, we beat Nottingham Forest 5-0, and then we beat West Ham 5-0. And up till that point, I don't think we'd scored 10 goals in all the games leading up to that. And then we scored 10. Oh, yeah, we scored 10 in 2 games. But again, as I've said to you, we have been I think this season's been thrilling. I think obviously last season our league position was better, our points tally was better, but I think Fulham fans need to take into account we did get to the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. We really irritatingly got Liverpool. I was begging for Middlesbrough or Chelsea. I really think over 2 legs we could have done something against Chelsea. Even though I know that they've beaten us twice this season, but I still think cup competition, the second leg at the Cottage, I think we could have had a good chance to get to Wembley. But I mean, it's like the story. I mean, on the 23rd of I think it was December, we lose to Burnley 2-0 at home, and I'm thinking, surely we were going to win that game. And then a week later, we beat Arsenal 2-1. And it's just like, I don't know how that happens. But I think it's been a really interesting season. Very, very interesting. I think I'm really glad that we weren't on a cup run. I think Fulham are a football club now. The yo-yo tag, us and Norwich, that the longest running meme in history, where we still haven't played them in about 6 years. Obviously we stayed up last season. We massively overachieved. I think our recruitment was excellent as well in that period. And I think our recruitment again in the summer was brilliant. I mean, Pelinia got him for 20 million. He's now worth probably 80. I think the Fulham fan, we have to be realistic. He'll probably be gone. This summer. I think Bayern will pay the money. He was basically a Bayern player on deadline day, and we just couldn't find a replacement for him. So the move collapsed. But sometimes in life, when you watch a player, you have to realise he's too good for your club. And I look at Pelinia, and he is just a bit too good to play for Fulham Football Club, which is a shame. It was like with Clint Dempsey, went to Spurs. Moussa Dembele, another wonderful midfielder, he went on to Spurs. So it's tough. I mean, it's tough being a Fulham fan because all your best players will try and get snapped up by the bigger clubs. But look, I think it's been a great season for us, and that result is just reflective of a sort of the crazy up and down of our form.
Yeah, I hear you as well on the able to, the ability to have to sell your best players. That as a West Ham fan, Declan Rice, again, you can see he was Champions League quality. He had to go. Unfortunately, we're now seeing that with the likes of Kudus and Paulinia, Paqueta. I think they're two players that I think we will struggle to hold on to. And then it's just, as you say, you've just got to get that money like you'll get for Paulinia, and then just how do you reinvest that? So it's just all about then a really good scouting network to try and get those replacements. And to be fair, we've done well with the Declan Rice money. I think we did sign some good players, but it looks like we're going to have to sign some more.
Definitely.
So you're currently 12th in the table. Is that somewhere that you would have expected to be at the start of the season? Is that a good season for you, or how do you feel?
I expected it. I expected us to have a bit of a drop off. Last season we finished 10th, which was incredible for us. To get in the top 10 after just being promoted was amazing. And the recruitment, again, as I come back to it, that summer we signed Leno from Arsenal for about 3 million, and he has gone on and been, I think, one. Look, he's had the odd mistake, but every goalie has it. But his shot stopping is the best I've seen since Mark Schwarzer and Van der Sar at the club. And the way that he commands the goal. I mean, and also Leno's now in the Germany squad. When he signed for Fulham, he was miles away from being in the German team, but now he's made the squad. It's just reflective of how good he's been. Pelinia again, that signing was huge, and the recruitment as well. Calvin Bassey, I think, has been outstanding for us. Alex Iwobi from Everton. Marco's tinkered with him a lot and put him central, moved him to the wide, but he's a Marcus Silva player. Marcus Silva, he had him at Everton as well. But I'm happy with our season. We're not going to go down. We beat Spurs, and I think a lot of Fulham fans are thinking, oh, look, if we go on a run, maybe we could sneak Europe because of the ranking in Europe. I think maybe 8th place now can get you conference. I think 8th and maybe even 9th potentially, depending on the coefficient rankings, can get you conference. But I think if I'm being realistic, let's just enjoy the end of the season, and then obviously, I think there's going to be a big change in the summer, players leaving, players coming in, and we'll kick on. But Marcus Silva's done a wonderful job. I think any Fulham fan who thinks we could have done a bit more this season, I think it's harsh. We've had difficult draws. FA Cup, we had Newcastle, and we have a terrible record against Newcastle, really, really bad. But I think 12th is a fair result. I don't think we deserve to be any higher than that right now. I also don't think we deserve to be any lower. But I think it's where Fulham Football Club are. It's recognised, I think, in the Premier League. We've always been a team that's finished sort of 9th to 16th. Obviously, bar the last few years when we've been in the Championship and we've gone up and the recruitment has not been right. It's so important, isn't it? But it always comes back to recruitment. You look at the table. And even West Ham. West Ham, you lost Rice, massive loss, but Alvarez has been a great signing. Ward-Prowse, you've used the money and spent it wisely, I think. You look at Chelsea and Man United, and their recruitment is a shambles, and that's reflected in their league position. So I think 12th is fair, and I hope next season we know that Tony Khan is going to spend money. He spoke about it several times on different media platforms. I think Marcus Silva deserves a big summer. I think we haven't spent that much money. The highest paid player I think we paid is Polinia, 20 million. And when you were in the Premier League, 20 million now is like, it's not really that much really to sign on one football player. So I think I'm hoping next season with a couple of new additions, we could maybe try and sneak a really good cup run again, like we did this season. But I'm happy with 12th. 12th is good, I think, for us.
Yeah, cool. You got Nottingham Forest. So you mentioned them earlier. Obviously, beat them 5-0 in the last game. You've got them tomorrow night. How do you think that one's going to go?
I think we'll beat them. I'm quietly confident. We last season we beat them there. We played some really good football. Polinia scored an absolute screamer. I remember that. Harrison Reed scored one of, he scores once in a blue moon, but he got a goal. But of course, there's more pressure on Forest. I think they might be more up for it. I mean, again, it's quite weird being a Fulham fan now because we don't really have anything to play for, whereas Forest have got everything to play for in that relegation battle. So it's not going to be difficult, but I think that we will get over the line. I think our quality in the final third, and I think the form that Rodrigo Muniz is in, and Nottingham Forest's defence, I think, has been questionable this season. I think I'm confident that we're going to get 3 points.
No, Nottingham Forest are obviously one of those teams that have been hit by financial fair play. And I think there's more coming. I think Chelsea admitted that they've broken the rules somewhere. Kind of makes sense because they spend stupid. Do you think there's going to be any other clubs? Are Fulham in any danger, do you think? Or do you think, can you see any other clubs?
We're not in any danger, actually. We're not in any danger, which is great. And I will praise, I mean, I don't want to give loads of praise to our board. I think at times they've been a bit questionable. If you ask any Fulham fan, believe me, some of the people on the board are not popular at all. But I will give them credit in that we haven't jumped that spend. We actually haven't spent that much money. And I think obviously financially for us, and the strange thing is that actually being promoted and getting relegated, we get all the parachute payments and we get a huge amount of money. I mean, we've won the player final twice. I mean, that's 400 million. That's just 400 million off 2 games. One of them was in the lockdown against Brentford. I wish we weren't in a lockdown. I wish I'd been there to see us beat Brentford live. And then the other one was Villa. I was at that game. John Terry cried. I think it was his last game. It was a fantastic moment for all of us as we beat Villa. I mean, I remember though, squeaky bum time. We went down to 10 men, and Grealish was just phenomenal for Villa at that point. But yeah, I think we're going to survive it. But it's really interesting that the financial fair play. It seems like it's all coming in tandem. Obviously now we've got Leicester City. Have got a huge problem, and we don't know. It's quite confusing, isn't it? We don't really know if they get promoted, is that going to kick in for them the start of next season, or is that going to affect them in the Championship? So, and also it's quite strange that Leicester are one of the really big clubs advocating Everton to get that deduction, and now they've been found guilty of a very similar charge. So it's really strange at the moment. I think lots more going to happen. I think obviously we had John, Man City fan, on earlier. That's the big one everyone wants to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the fact it's been drawn out this long shows that I think that the City have got some real problems, real issues. And Chelsea, of course, they spent $1 billion. They're still really mediocre, but I think it's the right thing to do. I think clubs should, you can't break the rules, and you can't have one rule for one club and one rule for another. And we've seen over history that massive football clubs who have financially breached, they've gone under. I mean, look at Rangers. I think Rangers are, no disrespect to Man City, I think Rangers are a bigger club than Man City. I think they've got a bigger fan base. They're an iconic club. But Rangers, when they were financially guilty, they were sent to the bottom division. They were stripped of a few titles. So you can't have one rule for one massive club and another rule. And same thing happened with Juventus as well. And then another rule for another club. But I think what's so annoying is that I think if I was a Forest fan, I'd be really frustrated because they've appealed it. But is that appeal going to come before the end of the season, or we don't know? And I think fans are frustrated, and fans like myself, and I've got no affiliation to Forest or Leicester or Everton, but I think it's the frustration that we don't know really what's going on and how they determine the level of the points deduction for the particular crime. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah, and I think the timing of it as well, as you mentioned there, getting it late on in the season doesn't leave much chance to claw back those points. And if you're a club knowing that you have breached some rules, obviously you're going to try and delay that to the close season, because if you're in and around that bottom and you kind of get that now, well, that's devastating. You're down. So there's going to be a lot of skullduggery and secrecy and deflection, I think, across these rules. They're not clear enough. They're not fit for purpose. I think they definitely need an overhaul. But interesting you said about Rangers, because I also think that if City are are found guilty of the amount of breaches they have, they'll be relegated, which will be interesting.
Absolutely, and I think the question a lot of fans, look, I'm no Man City fan, but I think a lot of people will think, does this tarnish their success if they're found guilty of these charges? It's a really difficult one. I don't think it would, actually, strangely. I think maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but I think you can't blame Pep. If Man City, it's not Pep's not the financial charge. He's just in charge of what he can do on the pitch. But look, I think it's good. I do think it's a good thing that these charges are happening. But again, in the Premier League, it's like with VAR. I like the idea of it, but it needs to be conducted in the right and efficient manner. That means that it's accessible and easy for fans to understand. And I think that fans should be aware. And I think what's one of the things, I mean, look, I'm a football fan. I'm a football lover. But one of the things I love about rugby is you can hear the referees and you can hear when they make these decisions. There's clear communication. In VAR, and then how many times have we seen it in VAR? I mean, every week there's another situation. The communication there is just a shambles, and nothing. It's not properly conducted. We have the technology, but we just don't have the right people who know how to actually operate the technology effectively. And I do think it is ruining our game. And I've got a friend who's a Millwall fan, and he loves the Championship because there's no VAR, so you can actually celebrate and think, okay, we've actually scored it instead of VAR coming in. And then you have to cancel your celebrations. So, I just hope that the Premier League sort it out as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Yeah, I'm not sure if your Millwall friend loves the Championship because there's no VAR or they've got no chance of coming up. I'm not sure which one that is.
Yeah, they are. Well, to be fair, they are bottlers. Oh, and of course, yes, you're not. Yeah, well, of course, yeah. But yeah, actually, can I ask you how have you found West Ham season? I mean, at the work I do, I know lots of West Ham fans. And I think it's a very split fan base with Moyes in and out. I'd just be curious as to know what you think about West Ham at this current stage.
Yeah, I think Moyes should run his contract down and go. For me, and I did a video on this earlier, and you may not have seen it on the channel, but I did like 5 reasons for and 5 reasons against. So for me, I think, yes, he's delivered us a European Cup win. And I was going to ask you about this because you mentioned the conference. For me, I think the conference is I really do think it's a Mickey Mouse Cup. I don't count it as a major trophy. Mm-hmm. And the reason I kind of say that is because our squad was worth 100 million more than the rest of the teams we played combined. The average attendance of most of the teams we played are akin to a League Two teams, pretty much, apart from 2, like 2,000 attendance, some of them, average attendance. Like it's like playing Football Manager on cheat mode. So I think Moyes gets way too much credit for winning that and not enough for actually doing as well as he can in the league. We're very lucky in the league. At Newcastle, he absolutely made the wrong calls. He completely messed that up. We should have won that game against Newcastle. And he takes off a striker, brings on the worst centre defensive midfielder in the Premier at the moment, which is Phillips. Like his form's just shot. And then later on, he takes off James Ward-Prowse and then puts on right back. And you're like, I'm like, what are you doing? And then we concede 3. So for me, we're where we are in the league is a false position. It is a really false position. And in fact, I looked up another stat as well, which I'm going to hit you with.
Yes.
Out of the 5 major leagues, West Ham's possession, they rank 94th out of 96. So we are second from bottom in the whole of European major leagues for possession.
Yeah,
Wolves are actually bottom, but we are second from bottom, which is ridiculous. So basically, you're spending £70 to £100 to go to the London Stadium and watch other teams play football around us. And for me, that's why I don't go very often anymore, because I just can't stand watching other teams play football. I'd rather go and watch other teams play football.
Yeah, I'm actually going to West Ham Fulham later on this season. I've got a ticket. So, but I've been there before. I went a few years ago when we had Ryan Babel up front. Those were some dark days. But so I've been before. As a fan, you're so far from the pitch, I always find. And it's just like, and that's what I quite like about the Cosmos is you're right where I sit as well. You're right on the pitch. You sort of get, and I think it can detach from the atmosphere. Obviously, you've got Leverkusen. That's going to be, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I really can't see you getting past them.
I can't see it either, mate. Don't worry.
I think the second leg at West Ham, I think that could come to your advantage. And actually, I know Joel, the Arsenal fan, said earlier, just in terms of the second leg, first leg at the Emirates, I actually slightly disagree. I think you always want your second leg to be at home. You definitely want the home advantage in the second leg. And I think if West Ham could maybe, I think let's say you lost 2-1, you took that back to the London Stadium. I think you get an early goal, maybe the crowd could be up for it. And West Ham in the Europa League, they have done it before. We saw that. We saw that in that incredible run when you nearly got to the final. You've been behind. Teams have come to the London Stadium and sort of suffocate. I mean, look at what happened to Freiburg. They got dismantled. Kudus scored one of the best goals I've seen.
Amazing.
Yeah. What do you think about Kudus, actually? Do you think you'll let West Ham be able to keep hold of him?
Very, very tough. I think he's so good. What blows my mind is how Man U manager, so his name's going out of the head.
Ten Hag, yeah.
Ten Hag took Anthony and not Kudus. I think that was mental because he looks twice the player. I mean, he's brilliant. He just runs hard. He works hard. Obviously, he scores some great shots. Not afraid to shoot from anywhere. He's quality. And yeah, I think we'll struggle to hold on to him.
I do look at a West Ham though, as a Fulham fan with a bit of envy, because I remember not even that long ago, really. Well, 14 years ago, we were in the Europa League and we got to the final and we just didn't quite get over the line. A lot of people actually don't forget about that, but we did. We had to play all these preliminary qualifying rounds in like Latvia and just unknown places. And we went on and we beat a Juventus side that had Cannavaro, Trezeguet. We got to the final. We lost. We were 2 minutes from penalty shootout. Diego Forlan, the bane of our existence, scored in the, but obviously that was heartbreaking. But I never thought then 4 years later we'd nearly get relegated to League One. It was just a complete collapse from Fulham in those years. But I look at West Ham and I think I'd like Fulham to maybe get to a West Ham level where we could make a European competition and maybe just have quite a good run, maybe try and get to the final, maybe win it. Obviously, West Ham are a much bigger club than Fulham. I fully accept that. But I look at West Ham as like our stepping stone. So I find it interesting when fans say, I'm not sure about Moyes. And I get it because the football that West Ham plays isn't attractive. But you have had some good results. You've had some good results against Arsenal. I mean, I know that the home game wasn't good, but at the Emirates, you were very, very good. So it's interesting. If Moyes leaves, who would you want as the next manager?
Yeah, so this is the tricky one. I think, so for me, I think the kind of obvious choice that stands out is Graham Potter, which is not a popular choice. And the only reason I say that, because I think the football he played at Brighton was very good. At Chelsea, he was given a poison chalice. He was just dropped in it. I think that nobody could have really done well there. That's the only ones I can kind of see. I mean, otherwise, you kind of have to go abroad. And the reason I say Potter is our chairman has already said that he doesn't like foreign managers because of what happened when we took on Pellegrini. He said it was an absolute disaster, overspent, nearly financial ruin kind of levels of bad management. So he wants to stick with an English manager. And I don't think there's many good ones out there. And like Eddie Howe's probably the only other good one, but I think he'll probably go to England. And actually, I don't even think he'd go to Newcastle or West Ham anyway. So I don't think he would be in the frame. So I think that's probably one of the only choices we'd have.
I think Kieran McKenna could be a good shout as well at Ipswich. They just won. Obviously, actually, they got a massive result today. They scored last minute against Southampton. I think he's someone maybe you could look at. Might be a bit of a risk. Definitely a risk. But look, you've got to take risks in football, haven't you? We took a risk on Marco Silva, who hadn't really done that well in the English game, and we've reaped the reward of that. So, yeah, I think it's an interesting season for West Ham. I think the fan base, would you say that the fan base is very divided over Moyes?
Oh, well, yeah, 100%. And it sways week from week. And the problem, what I don't want it to get is like the Arsenal fan TV where it was, everyone against Wenger, because that's why the channel blew up. Great timing for them. Nothing wrong with that at all. But I think it really split the fan base. And I think West Ham's becoming a little bit like that with a Wenger in, Wenger out. So, yeah, it is a tough one at the moment. So I just think naturally for him, because he hasn't really bought into West Ham. West Ham fans don't buy into him because he's quite a miserable git. Let's be honest, he's not the most charismatic man in the world. So I don't think, like when you talk about the Harry Redknapps or the Billiches, who they've got that West Ham through and through. He's not really like that, and West Ham kind of like that connection. So I think for him naturally, he could move on. And actually, an interesting question, I guess, back at you really. If Moyes was out of a job, would you take him at Fulham?
I wouldn't take him over Silva now. I wouldn't take him over Silva. But if Silva was gone, I would take Moyes. I would.
Yeah.
Definitely. The thing with Fulham is the style of play that we play with Marco is wonderful. I think the football that we play is great, really, really exciting. Gets the fans on the edge of our seat. It's the most entertaining we've had, I think, since Hodgson, really, all 14 years ago. And in that time, we've had some really, really bad managers. Some of them have just been awful. But the style of play, I mean, I think for me, Moyes, if he came to Fulham, it's a big name. It's a big name coming to the club. He's a manager who I think he's done an amazing job at West Ham, but I do think he's taken them as far as he can. I probably think maybe he should move on. I do agree with you on that. But I think Moyes at Fulham, the football wouldn't be amazing, but the football doesn't have to be amazing at Fulham. We just need to make sure that we don't go down every year and that we fight for everything. And that's what David Moyes' teams do. You know, sometimes the football isn't great, but he always find a way. West Ham, I think, at times of the season have always, at times, definitely sort of ground through and found a way to get over the line. Yeah. So I would have Moyes, but I definitely wouldn't have him over Marco. Marco right now, I think he's hot property. I actually think, obviously, my bias kicks in, but we see a lot on Sky. Everyone talks about Thomas Frank and everyone talks about De Zerbi and these managers are wonderful. And I don't think that Silva actually gets enough credit for what he's done at Fulham. Everyone raves about Thomas Frank, but Brentford are in a relegation battle this season, if we're being honest. They're not out of it yet. One win, a Forest or Luton win, Brentford are drawn right back into it. So, and Silva's actually, I think, overachieved with the squad that we've had. I mean, we've got players in the team who are aging. Willian's 35, Jimenez is 33. He's overachieved. And the only person I feel sorry for on our squad is Broja. Comes in January, and Muniz just decides to go, okay, well, you're not getting in the team, and I'm just going to turn up now. But I think we've got to pay Chelsea $4 million if we don't play him in something like 12 games. So I think we've already not played him in enough games that we're going to have to give Chelsea $4 million, as if they need $4 million, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
But I would have Moyes at Fulham. I think if Silva left, I could see Silva going to West Ham, actually. I wouldn't rule that possibility out. I think he could look at it, the lure of European football, bigger football club. It pains me to say that, but yes, bigger football club. But it could be like a swap situation. I wouldn't be against Moyes coming to Fulham because he's been in the game a long time and he knows what he's doing. And I actually think even at United, I think they should have given him longer. Definitely.
Yeah, he can grind out results. I think that's the problem. He can grind it out, but the way he does it is just so dull. And the problem that he has now, because he's known as a defensive manager, I mean, we're already at the same goals we conceded last season. We've still got 8 games to go. So our defence is getting worse. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, they're all over 30. I mean, Zuma's knackered. His knees are just gone. Bonner's old. Creswell's old. Kufal is kind of on the cusp. His contract's coming up. So, yeah, we've got some big problems defensively. Our keepers are not amazing. I don't think. Well, Fabianski's needs to retire soon, and Areola's okay, but I still think he's got some. You think
Areola? You think he's okay? I think Areola's brilliant.
I don't know. I don't think he's bad. I think he's a steady Eddie, but for me, and it may not be his fault. It may be the way we coach because we're so defensively deep. But he doesn't come and collect enough crosses. Fabianski doesn't collect anything. He's glued to his line. But Areola probably not as commanding. He's quite a quiet goalkeeper. So I mean, I like goalkeepers to be quite loud and really vocal, and you should be hearing them above anybody else in that defence. And I don't think I've ever heard him shout. So he's a quite unassuming goalkeeper. So that always makes me nervous.
We had him on loan 2 years ago when we went up, and he was brilliant for us. He was one of our best. I mean, in the best of a bad bunch, but he was in goal. Him, Joachim Andersen, who's at Palace, and Lookman, who I think is at Atalanta now. Those 3 players were really good for us a few years ago. So if you don't want Areola and Leno goes, we'll have him back. I'll have him back at Fulham, definitely. But yeah, it's one of those situations. I think also just a quick one with West Ham as well. Ward-Prowse has been overlooked for the England squad. Do you think that he should have? I don't know. I mean, you look at the midfield options. Do you think that Ward-Prowse should have maybe made that England squad?
No, I do think we've got stronger options. He's covered more ground than any other Premier League player this season, but he's not scored enough. He's not really. He started well. Don't get me wrong. He did start well. He's faded now, so much so that actually he's been dropped quite recently, last couple of games. So I think something's happening there. He's not quite the timing. If it was the other way around, if he'd started badly and progressively got better towards the summer, I think he'll have a chance, but I just think his form's dropping off at the wrong time for him. Good player for West Ham. No problem with that. But I think that also that label of equaling David Beckham's goal free kick record is really weighing him down because he hasn't scored one for, I can't remember the last time he scored a direct free kick. So yeah, that's been a bit of a problem for him.
Yeah, Ward-Prowse, he scored a few R's for Southampton, and Ward-Prowse. I think he scored 3 free kicks at the Cottage. I remember all of them. It was like, I remember you conceded and you knew it was basically like giving Southampton a penalty practically.
Yeah.
So,
and the problem we have with that is that being as a team that sits so deep, as a counter-attacking team, we don't get free kicks high up. So actually, it doesn't play well into James Ward-Prowse. If we were an attacking team that drove at defenders and got fouls, he'd be on double figures. That's just not how West Ham play. So it doesn't suit him our style of play.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I'll have him at Fulham if you don't want him. If Polina goes, I'd have Ward-Prowse. But yeah, no. Look, I think West Ham. I think you've had an interesting season. I think, look, if you get past Leverkusen, that would be extraordinary. But and you never know. And also, the lot will be like Alonso's in England, so the media is going to be all over it. But that should be exciting. But I will say this: I think I obviously remember West Ham when you were in the Championship, and where the trajectory of the club obviously has been up and down. And early years at the London Stadium, I think, were difficult for you. But I mean, to be in Europe, I know you say it's Mickey Mouse Trophy, but you still had to win it. You still had to be in there and win it, and you got over the line. And that's better than, as a Fulham fan, I would dream if we won the Conference League. It would be like I'd be celebrating for about 2 weeks. So yeah, I think with West Ham now, I think the expectations are just much more now than they were 10 years ago. You look at West Ham and it's when you go there, it's like we need to be making Europe, we need to be challenging, we need maybe a good cup run here and there with something that's attainable for West Ham. But and obviously again, then that moves, moving from Upton Park to the London Stadium, that always comes. It's the same with Arsenal, Highbury, the Emirates. That always comes with a bit of difficulty. But I think now that you're more established, I think you're right. I think Moyes will go, and you'll bring in an exciting manager. It's interesting you said to me that you don't like bringing in foreign managers, because I think there's so many foreign managers out there that would be amazingly suited for West Ham. But we just have to see.
Yeah, I think there would be. I think there'll be a brilliant manager that we could take. I just don't. Our board do not like. I think they were just burnt so badly. He's openly said he likes English British managers. So a weird one. Last question to you, Oscar. Just in terms of who you think will win the league and which 3 teams you think will be relegated.
The teams, Sheffield United and Burnley are gone for me. Definitely gone. I think actually Company's been let off in the media. I think Burnley have been really bad. I mean, it's ironic I've said that because we didn't beat them this season, but they have not been good. I think the last team to go down will be Luton. I don't want to say that because I think Luton have showed real character, but I think I look at their runs. One thing they have advantage is their home games for the rest of the season are easy. We've actually got them on the final game. I wouldn't mind if we lost if they stayed up. So I think Luton are great for the league. And Ross Barkley's been sensational for them. Yeah, brilliant. In the title race, I said to you before, actually City, but I'm actually going to go Liverpool. I'm going to change my mind. I think the Klopp effect, the factor is huge, absolutely huge for Liverpool. He can galvanise a team. He is Liverpool's most important player, practically. Yeah. And I think also with the Champions League running, because with Arsenal and City, I think are at a disadvantage there, because there could very well be a situation where Arsenal beat Madrid Arsenal beat Bayern and Man City beat Real Madrid, and then they play each other. And if they play each other in the semi-finals over 2 legs, that will be huge for Liverpool. They'll be fatigued. Also, the pressure of those games. Arsenal haven't won a Champions League. City will be looking at it going, if we can get the second one under Pep, that would be brilliant for us. And overtake Liverpool's Champions League trophy under Klopp. But I think I will go Liverpool. I think some of their fixtures are hard. I think Villa away, second last game of the season, is going to be really difficult. Spurs at home, I think looks difficult, but I think at Anfield, Liverpool will win that. And Man United away, I think Liverpool will struggle, but I think they'll just get over the line on that. And I think Arsenal got the hardest. I think the North London derby, Tottenham will be so up for trying to get points with them. United away, I think is really hard. Villa at home, I know they've got a good run at the Emirates, but that's not an easy game. And then with City, I just think I can see them dropping points. I actually think we've actually got City as our last home game, second last game of the season. I think we could get a draw. I'm a quiet optimist, but every time we played City, we've had a really good game. We've been very unlucky. But I think Liverpool win the league. I've got a feeling that Klopp, and I think it'll be a nice way to end Klopp's tenure at the club, where he is totally transformed Liverpool.
Yeah, have a title, put a statue up, send him on his way.
Absolutely. I mean, that's going to be a sad day for Liverpool fans. But I think they'll probably they'll find the recruitment to replace him. I think Ruben Amorim will be the most likely to replace Klopp.
Yeah, it'd be definitely an interesting season for Liverpool next year. Oscar, thank you very much for your time. I really do appreciate you taking time out of your. Are you on holiday? Is it a working thing?
It's like a bit of holiday and a bit of work. But yeah, it's been amazing to be in New York. It's absolutely, it's a wonderful city. I love it very much. I think I'm going to a comedy club, I think, tonight, something like that. But it's been. I've been here the last few days. Back to London soon. But Mark, thanks so much for having me on. I know this has been in the wild for a few weeks now, so I appreciate it. I think Andrian's saying, is there any chance that Liverpool drop points? Ooh.
I think there's a chance for all of them to drop points. So I think there'll be twists and turns. I don't think it'll be a straight run from here. I think there'll be twists and turns, and I'm loving it. I'm loving this tight run. I think it's fantastic for the Premier League.
And you've got Liverpool, haven't you? You've got Liverpool coming up.
We've got City.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if we've got Liverpool as well, but yeah, again, we're hit and miss. We could turn up against the big teams. So who knows?
No, you've done it before. You dismantled Arsenal's title bid last year. So, and actually both our clubs in the space of a week beat Arsenal, which really damaged December. So yeah. But thank you so much for having me on, Mark. I really appreciate it. It's been great.
No worries, buddy. Thanks very much. I'll see you back here soon at some point, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Take care. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Okay, so that's it for the Talking Ball show this week. Thank you very much. Please do give it a subscribe and a like. We are trying to build up the channel, build up this community. Really keen to get some of you on the channel. So if you're watching and you want to come on next week or a future week, please drop us in the comments. I'll get back to you and we'll get you on the show.